on other things. You know, it's just a reasonable request. Let's take the Constitution seriously. Is it really that unreasonable of a request? Is it really an unreasonable request to end farm subsidies? Is it really an unreasonable request to end corporate welfare? It's not. You know, we have to do something about this situation. There is a now late economist by the name of Rudiger Dornbusch. Rudiger Dornbusch had a saying about financial crises, which we had a taste of one here, going back to a couple of years to the fall of 2008 and into 2009. Maybe it's still ongoing. But he said that economic crises take longer to develop than you think they will. But once they happen faster than you think they will. And that's the problem, is that we really don't know if, and we don't know when, certainly, there could be an economic crisis in the future that is brought on by higher interest rates, which have come on, or which would come on, through high government spending, and the expectation that the United States is not going to be able to pay its future obligations. And it is a situation where markets can move very, very harshly sometimes. I just read an article by Alan Greenspan that said that from the end of September 1979 to the end of March 1980, interest rates went up by over 3 percentage points, by over 300 basis points over a 6-month period. What if that would happen today? What if that would happen in the future? What if 30-year mortgage rates by early next year we're at 7 or 7.5 or 8%. What if that would happen? That would be a terrible blow to the housing market, a terrible blow to this economy. And I think that that is the fire that our leaders from the Republican and Democratic parties are playing with right now. And the problem is that if things go badly, we're all going to get burned. It's not just them. It will all be equal. We'll all be equally poor if worse comes to worse. But I will also say this much regarding cutting government spending. There are other things that should be done as well. I want to come back to entitlements momentarily. I also think we need tax reform. I am so tired of the tax code in this nation is a monstrosity. People have been saying that for decades, and now we get It is absolutely ridiculous. And then what happens now with President Obama? He wants to give a credit for this, a deduction for that sort of thing. If we really want to stimulate this economy right now, it's not government spending, it's not programs from Washington that are going to do it. It's going to be by reforming the tax code, cutting marginal tax rates, instituting a flat tax in this nation, and giving and asking. We need radical tax reform. This trimming around the edges isn't going to cut it anymore. If we really want to stimulate this economy, we need to make a major change to the tax system. This government, instead of having people suck off its teat, pardon my Swahili, but instead of having that, we need to ask people to be the best they can be. This government needs to ask every individual American to be the best they can be. And we would accomplish that through a tax system that lowers marginal tax rates, encourages people to work hard, encourages entrepreneurship, and rewards success. And that's what we need in this nation. Now, I will also say this much. There is no getting around the fact that there is one reality that cannot be averted here, and that's this. The American government, the United States government, is going to welsh on its promises to the American people. It's going to. Not because it wants to, but because it will have to. We have to address entitlements in a realistic and responsible manner. And there are 3 big ones: Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. First of all, with respect to Social Security, I support the Cato Institute's 6.2% solution to Social Security. What that means is, and by the way, I just want to tell you something, just about Social Security, a couple of things. First of all, you have no property rights in Social Security. They call it contributions, but this has already been decided in a Supreme Court decision many decades ago, Nestor v. Fleming, when somebody sued because I believe they were a communist or something, and they did, you know, the law said you can't have Social Security benefits. They said, well, these are contributions. We have these rights. Supreme Court said no. Supreme Court said no. You do not have, if the Congress wants to take away or reduce your Social Security benefits, they are absolutely within their right to do so. That's a fact. And so what we need to do is, first of all, to protect the elderly who have been involved in this program with a 6.2% solution. What that means is that the employer portion of Social Security would go into a fund that would allow people who are older to be taken care of beyond a certain age, and the employer portion of Social Security would continue to be collected. But the 6.2% of the employee's portion could go into a personal account that they would control, that would allow them to invest in the future, and it would get them out of the Social Security, so give them something that they have property rights in, give them something that would be inheritable by their children and by their grandchildren. Social Security benefits aren't inheritable. They're not. 80% of Americans pay more in Social Security tax than they do the individual income tax. That situation is a losing proposition for so many people, and that level of taxation means that they have nothing left over to save. If they could save something through the Cato Institute's 6.2% plan, they could build up a nest egg, they could invest it, and they would have real property rights, something that could be inherited. And some people say, oh, well, they can't gamble, they shouldn't gamble in the stock market. I say two things. They don't have to put it in the stock market. They can put it in a conservative investment if they want to. But I also want to say this. When you hear people talk, oh, the stock market's so risky, let me ask you a question. How many times for every 20-year period, going back to the end of 1925, we're talking 1926 to 1945, 1927 to 1946, every 20-year period moving up 1 year all the way through the end of 2009, during how many of those 20-year periods did the stock market return a negative investment? Zero. 0 times. Even after the crash of 2008, even at the end of 2008, people still would have been ahead over a 20-year investment period. So, especially when Democrats bring it up, oh gosh, we can't allow people to invest in the stock market. You know what? Even investing and ending and retiring in 2008, people would have been better off with private investments than they would have been in the Social Security system. And don't let any liberal or any Democrats tell you differently.